In 1987, a groundbreaking survey was conducted in California by the California Network of Mental Health Clients to explore what factors promote or deter well-being of those commonly labeled as mentally ill. It was written, administered, and analyzed entirely by mental health clients. The following film reflects the findings of that survey. This film affirms our personhood in living meaningful and satisfying lives. In a world of stigma, poverty, loneliness, and injustice, our voices illuminate the value of self-help, creativity, meaningful work and activity, and basic human dignity and respect. Most importantly, we speak for ourselves.
Normal people, and I want to say, as I said, I say all the time, some of my best friends are normal people. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Just because normal people started World War I, World War II, dropped the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and committed genocide against the Native Americans, instituted slavery. I have nothing against normal people, but I wouldn't want my daughter to marry one. You know what I'm saying?
Down the hatch. Sometimes I'm teased by children called Lich or a monster, you know, but I really don't mind that because I think I understand what they're going through at the time that they're saying that. I had my first nervous breakdown when I was about 20 years old, when I almost was to graduate from Brooklyn College. And I was in bed with what I felt were brain convulsions the whole Christmas week. So my mother brought me to see the psychiatrist, and he told me that I was working too hard. I was working very hard. I had 2 part-time jobs, and I guess that was what they call a real nervous breakdown.
That's a good boy. Okay, ready? Banana split for my baby, and a glass of water for me. It was while I was at UC Irvine, I had what may commonly called a breakdown, getting really depressed even. But some of it was an attempt to find some meaning in the world, and sometimes that meant that I was violating what I considered, you know, especially middle-class rituals, and my family didn't know what to do. Well, they had a lot of concerns, even though I did not hurt anybody. Water for me, yeah, a glass of water for me, yay! Anyway, is that I went down to visit my family, and I went to a Denny's, and they're going to pick me up, and I have my father and 2 brothers with a baseball bat, and like my brother had a baseball bat in the back of the car.
I thought I had the flu at the time. I was sick. I went to see a movie called On the Beach. And in this scene, everybody was going to die, all right? And I'm watching this bloody movie of these people self-destruct. so that they don't die from radioactive poisoning. And suddenly the theater starts going around and around. That was the first feeling that something was not right. I thought I was physically ill. Prior to that, I had been nervous in the mornings going to work. I attributed that to the tea I was drinking.
And that was only the beginning. But this pattern of up and I'm fine and, oh, sure, yeah, no problem, I can do it. Sure. Oh, you want something done too? Well, yeah, no problem. And then crashed, fetal position, in bed, never wanting to get up.
The police took me to jail, right? I was in my drugs under episode. They took me to jail. And because I was acting bizarre there, they took me to General Hospital, right? So I was acting even worse in General Hospital. So they, I guess, got a writ and took me to Campbell. And when I got in there, I said, you know, the reality hit me. It cannot be this. I cannot be in a mental institution. Impossible, wrong. It cannot be happening. I'm diagnosed as schizophrenic. I hear voices outside of my head. I hear them next door. I hear them down the street. I hear them outside my window. I can talk back to them. I can tell them to go away. I don't want to be bothered with you. I don't believe you exist. Leave me alone. They will give me an argument. In hallucinations, it's just like me sitting here talking to you. They're three-dimensional, but they're kind of thin. The ones that I have, and it seems like they're good. They seem to be after world peace and not really. They're like gods, okay?
You know, like normal's supposed to be good or sane, but what's so sane about a businessman in Sacramento wearing a three-piece suit when it's 105 degrees? It makes more sense to go naked. You know, I mean, like it. I think comedians are normatized deviants. And I've said that when you're a wild and crazy guy out on the street, especially with radical politics, they put you in jail and mental hospitals. When you're a wild and crazy guy on stage, you're known as a comic genius. 25, 35, 40, come on, 55. So instead of now being somewhat of a crazy person, I was now somebody that was a legitimated troubleshooter / troublemaker, professional crazy person for all occasions. And I got taken in. You know, I mean, like I said, what the hell, you know? You're a boot-tuner in another dimension. Not only of sight and sound, but of mind. What's that signpost up ahead? It's the psychiatric hospital zone.
Here's his papers, and I'm going to need a signature. It's a funny thing, but all the time in the hospital where I was for about 3.5 or 4.5 years, from about 1956 to 60, and where I had over 300 ECTs, I really never thought I was sick. And I think that's a healthy attitude. I mean, you don't want to lower your ego and tell yourself, well, I'm sick, you know, and I can't function, I can't cope. I can't stand this, you know. Other people have told me that if it had happened to them, they wouldn't have survived those 300 treatments that I had. I don't know how I did survive them, but I guess I'm lucky to be alive.
There were abuses that happened during those early years. There were treatments that were misused. I mean, that's part of a legacy that we've had to live with and tried to overcome that. So that's the system 25 years ago. Over the last 25 years, what we've tried to do is recognize that that's not an adequate system, that it didn't really provide the kinds of things that we need to for people. So over the last 25 years in California, we've tried to develop a system that is not just a state hospital, but a true community-based program in a community setting. So what we did was we took all the people out. We were real good at getting them out. We went from 37,500 in 1959 to 5,000 today. So we did get them out of the state hospital. California did a great job of getting them out. But where we failed, if there's a failure here, and I think there is, was that we weren't able to provide all of the components of a community mental health program and put it all in place.
50% of us found hospitalization very or somewhat helpful. 22% found it helpful in some ways and harmful in some ways. 20% found it very or somewhat harmful. Our survey shows that only about half of us feel that the mental health system respects our civil and human rights. This explains why most of us say it is very important to have a patient's rights advocate and peer support groups. We can and do exercise control over our emotional problems if we are supported and validated. This is how self-help works.
Leonard Kaplan, peer counselor.
Hello, yeah, come in.
Thank you.
Peer counseling is an attempt to have a connection across, and we try to make a connection in the hospital to the community so that people, you know, have some place, some connection to the outside world.
Whoops. I'm better at spinning the bottle, really.
Yeah. No, that's silly. It's the only sport we have here. I mean, I love athletics, and I just like to play like children play. They play all day long, sports and games and teaching and learning, you know. It's all an experience of life.
What score was it again? 8-4?
I lost track.
Yeah. And if a person has the right attitude, I think it can do a great deal of help. And I know exactly what they're experiencing because I've been in the general hospital 3 or 4 times myself, so I know how much pressure there is on the clients.
I resign.
I like to go home too, especially since I'm such a homely person. Okay, well, thank you for the game.
I think you're very enduring throughout the encounter.
Enduring or endearing? And I enjoy it because I enjoy helping people, and if I help people, I feel I help myself as well.
47% of us have avoided mental health treatment due to the fear of involuntary commitment. This fear may actually discourage us from seeking help, even when we feel in need of mental health assistance.
My feelings about hospitalization are overwhelmingly negative. I found what is helpful is having meaningful work and activity, something that gives a purpose to life. And for me, it's been being involved in the patients' rights movement. As you know, you've been certified for up to 14 days to be here, even if you don't want to be here. However, I am talking to the therapist, and the therapist says that if you're willing to stay here, that there's a good possibility they would be willing to sign you in voluntarily. So the hearing is for purposes if you want to contest that. Would you? So my basic question is, would you like to leave or would you like to stay in the hospital?
I'd like to stay until the doctor thinks I'm well enough to, you know.
Okay,
yeah.
But they would probably want to keep you for more than a couple of days. You're not going to think you're going to change your mind. And,
no, I'm not going to.
Okay, I mean, have you talked to Crystal?
Yes, briefly.
And has she talked to you about being a voluntary, possibly?
No. She hasn't.
Okay, so I'll be back. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We operate in the express interest of clients. We don't make clinical judgments. So if somebody wants to leave the hospital and that's their wish, we try to help them. But if they want to stay in the hospital and the doctor says no, we try to help them stay in the hospital. We try to operate in their corner. Do you feel like you're knowingly consenting to treatment and feel satisfied about the pros and cons and all that? Okay. Clients do have ideas about what they need. And even when somebody's in a lot of distress, is that they have fundamental knowledge about their own condition. And many times they're not listened to.
38% of us do something creative when we have psychological problems. Creativity is an important part of self-help.
Hi, Ann. I think we should go out and have a drink after work. I'm really tired. This has been a rough day.
Nurse, I got to talk to you. It's real important. I got to talk to you. I was supposed to go home. It was all worked out.
I'll call you back.
I was going to go on a pass, you know. My wife called. She doesn't even want to see me anymore. I can't.
Bill, do you know where you are?
I can't. Yeah, I'm in.
Do you know where you are?
I'm in a hospital.
You're in the nurse's station. You see that line? Now, back.
You're running again.
Listen, I got to talk.
You're running into each other. We started a self-help group and we called ourselves We Can, Client Advocacy Now. And we were sitting around and we were talking about the hospital and how much we disliked it. And so I said, well, let's, you know, what's the thing that bugs you most? And the folks said, you know, the nurse is always staying inside the nursing station and never coming out and seeing you and talking to you. Well, let's get up. You know, how would that go? And we acted it out, and we realized we had a role going. And we came up with some skits and took our show on the road. But to be for any change to happen, and that's what our group is working towards, is changing the way staff relate to clients.
That's Nurse Mildred, and I have a hard time finding good help for this hospital. And I just wanted to find out what's going on. She's telling me that you will not take your medication.
That's true. They're trying to poison me with those pills. I know they. I don't want to take the damn thing. They're poison to me. Do you know that?
Well, I think you're just treatment resistant.
Treatment resistant? Of course I am. I don't want to take the thing. And it gets me in the head. I'm afraid it's going to seal those convolutions and you know, and smooth it out, and I won't be able to think anymore.
Well, I think that sounds like his psychotic thinking to me, convolutions in the head.
Well, for God's sake, everybody has convolutions, I'll tell. But listen, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what I've done. I've composed a poem. I think what gets me in the weekend players is playing from our own experiences and yet playing somebody else. I'm a ham. You know, I'm honest. I love to talk. I love to move my body in expressive ways. I feel like I'm doing something then. You know, I feel whole at that time. And I have these ideas, I have these mental flashes, I use them through life, and I'd like to use them here.
I would like to suggest that when you have a change, an idea for a change in the way that we do things, that after we do the set, that you come back and say, hey, how about putting some...
My mind doesn't work that way. It goes in the moment. I'm a momentary person, and whatever I do in the moment, it comes out at that moment. It's finding parts of myself that are hidden from me. And yes, conflict, I'm full of it. I think creative people thrive on the damn stuff. I really enjoy right now being me at this moment. And I have those moments, yeah.
Nobody knows better than ourselves what would promote or deter our own well-being and what's important in our lives. Just like anybody else, we need to speak for ourselves. The Well-Being Survey Project was initially a social survey project that was supported by the California Department of Mental Health, to the California Network, to do a survey of those commonly labeled as mentally ill throughout California, to identify those factors which promote and deter well-being. We set up a project in which clients developed the questions. Clients were trained to do the interviewing, and clients who came together in a conference and decided what factors to analyze. The process of interviewing itself is a very empowering process, that providing the answers when you're the person that's being interviewed, and then when you're the person that's interviewing, that the key, the crucial point is that both parties are involved in a very important transaction of information. And that's the main thing that we're going to focus on today. Okay. I think that for the training, I think we're going to do the role-playing now, going over these questions. We had people at all different levels of functionality being interviewers, because it only required that you believed that your work was important and you believed that the answers were important. And if you could convey that, you could get an excellent interview.
Most essential to your well-being.
Well, basically, I feel that an adequate income.
Adequate income?
Mm-hmm.
Privacy, basic human freedom.
I have no sexual life. I have
Okay.
I have no emotional stability. I have none of the above. But I'm striving for all.
What term, if any, would you like to be called?
My given name.
I wouldn't want nobody to call me none of those names. I wouldn't want anybody to put any kind of label on me at all.
How much control or choice do you feel your family has over your actions or beliefs? Total, a lot, some, a little, or none?
A lot.
Family members think that they know what's best for the family member that's psychiatrically labeled. And they're in a terrible bind because they want to be protective. They want to act in the client's best interest. There's two conflicts between family members and clients. One is between individual clients and their family, and then there's the conflicts between the organization of the California Network of Mental Health Clients and the client and the family group of CAMI, which is the California Alliance for the Mentally Ill. 30% of us feel that our family seldom or never listens to us. 40% of us seldom or never feel safe talking to our family. Trust, safety, and respect are central issues in family life. Most of our families feel that we seldom or never act in our own best interest. According to our survey, family members did support involuntary commitment and did support increasing the length of stay of hospitalizations.
That is true, but I think the difference there is, again, whether the person is in, as they say, their right mind. And that ties in with the question about, do you think the mental health client always acts in their own best interests?
I think I tried to draw the difference between best interests and express interests. And as being a parent, I really understand there was a lot. My daughter smoked, and it really grieved me. And she's blonde and blue-eyed and lays out in the sun and gets fried. And I really worry about that. But I would never think to forcibly take away her right to do those things.
Well, I think maybe that is a fundamental difference that you will find with families and their attitudes as compared with mental health clients, that the families are concerned about their particular family member, that they not be placed in so much jeopardy as being out on the streets.
Normal society is troubled family relationships, whether it's clients or not. But there is the opportunity because there is the need and there is the concern and there is what I call an agreement of the heart. 52% of us have been discriminated against because of psychiatric labeling. This stigma creates a very real impact on the quality of our lives and our families. We feel lonely or isolated from other people.
I've been diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, and I think it's nonsense. I spend a lot of time in my house. I'm very isolated. I get very lonely, and I think that's what my problems stem from. Remember last night when I got that phone call and it upset me and I was just about to have dinner? I mean, it was weird. You know, it was like you weren't validating what I was saying at all. And I realized how often this happens, you know, how often this comes up, that because you're not a consumer, you know, or a client, you can't relate to what I'm saying. Essential to my well-being is to know that Aaron is cared for, and that he's happy, and that Al is happy. Those two people are the most important in my life. You're aware a lot of times how impatient you are.
Well, I think that's partly because I get so keyed up during the day. When I come home, I need to, you know, cycle back, you know, to here, and you're not patient in that respect.
Yeah, but if you could put yourself in my shoes, you know, and feel some empathy with what I'm saying about the person, then I feel like you know, that what I'm feeling is validated. Otherwise, I feel like what I'm feeling is not of any value, that it makes no difference how I feel about somebody.
Yeah. You know, I don't validate what you're saying, not because of, it's just it's an oversight, it's an ignorance of how you really feel. And of course, if you're feeling, you know, that you need my attention suddenly, why, you know, I don't respond very well, because I'm still trying to come out of what I've been doing all day.
But a lot of times you're the only adult that I've talked to in an entire day, you know, and that can go on for days at a time. And then you get home and you settle back with your newspaper and, you know, carry on these conversations in your head with people that aren't even there anymore.
They're there in my head.
Well, we might say the problem's more yours than mine then, couldn't we?
Right. Of course, sometimes
Which is real disconcerting.
Sometimes I'm talking to them while I'm talking to you, too. I mean, sometimes I'm talking to you when I'm talking to them. But I do
If I
do
were a
that.
psychiatrist, I would have locked you up a long time ago.
Yeah, so, you know, where's the difference? It's, you know, it's a
You
human.
still, though, you still have the validity of your job to fall back on. You know, it gives you a certain legitimacy that I don't have. The only thing that I fall back on is the fact that I'm an ex-mental patient. Yeah. You know, and who listens to a crazy person?
Familias Unidas is an alternative mental health agency with a focus for Hispanics, Spanish-speaking clients.
It's not collect, is it?
No. All right, if it's not collect, accept it.
Sure.
Any third world person is discriminated against, and then you compound that with a diagnosis that can be considered a double whammy, a double discrimination stigma.
I am half Filipino and half Mexican. I've been discriminated because I'm a client, but I don't have that in my thoughts. I just feel I'm a well-being person, and I'm going to speak up and say something, that I'm a human being, and I'm to be treated like a human being, like everybody else. I'm a person like everybody else.
"51% of us think that TV, radio, and newspapers seldom or never portray us in a fair, accurate, humane manner. As a group, we are neither dangerous nor unpredictable, yet the media continues to spread this misconception.
You know, you read the newspapers all the time. You know, you see maniac murders 5 people, or a state hospital patient, you know, does this or that, or a mentally disabled person, you know, they have the label of a mentally disabled maniac, and then some terrible tragic thing that happens.
Today, police identified the murder suspect for the first time, an apparently mentally disturbed young woman who is also the suspect in another murder.
It's not clear why the husband ate pizza with his neighbor before killing him. Police say it does not look as though the neighbor and the man's estranged wife were having an affair, and
I understood that he had a little nervous breakdown at one time.
Police said he had a history of mental illness. They took no chances with him, and the suspect didn't like it.
Some clients are dangerous, but very few of them, and fewer than the society would think, because most mental health clients have exactly the opposite problem. They're too passive, and they wouldn't even hurt a fly. I know I wouldn't hurt a fly.
Just like any oppressed group, stigmatized group in our society that are powerless, whether it's been blacks or women or Chicanos, they're the ones that are more victimized. And yet the dominant ideology is always was showing that black man does this, never white man does this. And it's the same thing with ex-mental patients. We're not any more dangerous. In fact, most studies have shown we're less dangerous.
Mental patients are unpredictable, and how do you know they're unpredictable? You know, I say, how do you know John's unpredictable? And they say, well, I know John's unpredictable because I see him do it all the time. I say, well, isn't that a contradiction in terms? So we're dealing with a lot of double standards. And when people think about meaningful work and what they'd like to see so-called mental patients do, what is it? It's like being a security guard at a toxic waste dump, you know, around the Alaskan border.
Well, I never thought in my whole life it would ever take me 4 years to find a job with 2 degrees from an accredited university. You know, you just... sometimes my husband and I will joke, you know, and he'll say, gee, scars on your face are getting better, honey. And then I'll say, oh, are they? Gee, they're better on my hands. I guess the leprosy's maybe subsiding for a while. You get to feel like that, you know?
50% of us lack meaningful work or achievement in our everyday lives, yet 74% of us find such work or achievement essential to our well-being.
I remember going to a voc rehab department and telling them that I wanted to do something in agriculture. And they told me that maybe what I could do is become a gardener or pick up trash. And it wasn't quite exactly what I had in mind.
Good morning, California Network.
I think the major change in my life and the major reason why I got out of the mental health system was because of the California Network. And it was a total change in, number one, how I was seen both by myself and by others. For the first time, I met people who had had similar experiences to myself.
Oh, you know what? Jay called you.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Did he tell me what he was calling about?
Something about Public Day.
Oh, okay. The California Network is a statewide organization which is completely run by clients. We've identified programs that we feel are meaningful to clients, self-help, public policy, and changing attitudes, as well as minority issues. Hi, Peggy. This is Lori Shepard again. Okay. Do you have a few minutes? Okay. Usually a way a self-help group starts is a group of clients, and that can even be just 1 or 2 people get together, and then usually somebody from the California Network will meet with this group to talk about things that are happening in their lives, and people, it's helping each other. Okay, great. And if not, I'll be looking forward to meeting you at Public Day. Alrighty. There's a real feeling of closeness with mental health clients that you can't get with anybody else. For me, at least, it's just been incredible to be able to talk to somebody and have them know what it is I'm saying because they've experienced it, rather than talking to people who maybe have studied it or read about it but have never actually experienced what it is I'm trying to explain.
55% of us feel that psychiatric drugs are very helpful or somewhat helpful. 22% feel that they are very harmful or somewhat harmful. 18% feel that they are both helpful in some ways and harmful in some ways.
My belief is that I'm not depressed anymore, and that a lot of how I've overcome that has been through self-knowledge, so to speak, you know, as opposed to medication. But then there's some part of all this that says, you know, maybe I am biochemically deficient in whatever it is that keeps you from being depressed, and that you know, I don't know. I have concerns about long-term use of any medication.
Most medications haven't been around long enough for good studies to be done. I was on Haldol for like 5 or 6 years, and my roommates used to laugh. I would sit down to the table and try to eat, and I could not use a knife, fork, or spoon because I had tardive dyskinesia, so I started shaking. And the last time I used it was, I was up to like 100 milligrams a day.
Well, sometimes they over-medicate patients just to control them better. It's for staff privilege or something. I know I've worked at the court hearings now for about 17 years, psychiatric court hearings, at General Hospital. And sometimes the clients come into the waiting room really over-medicated, and they can hardly talk.
I know doing peer counseling at General now, I see one of the people that's there I used to see regularly digging in trash cans to eat. And although I'm living med-free, I see that the meds are working wonders for him, because the short 2 weeks that he's been there, he's actually become what most people would consider a normal human being. Now carries on normal conversations with people.
I don't know. I'm glad in a way I'm not a psychiatrist, because I really feel like medication is a very individual issue, and it's real clear. I take medication and I'm not super pleased about that. I'm not totally convinced that that's what I need to do, although I'm also not convinced that I will be okay without them.
Medication time. Mr. McMurphy, your medication.
What's in the horse pill?
It's just medicine. It's good for you.
Yeah, but I don't like the idea of taking something if I don't know what it is.
Don't get upset, Mr. McMurphy.
I'm not getting upset, Miss Pilbo. It's just that I don't want anyone to try and slip me saltpeter.
If Mr. McMurphy doesn't want to take his medication orally, I'm sure we can arrange that he can have it some other way.
These medication cases are not about refusing, and this is something that people need to understand. These cases are about choice and autonomy. They have been labeled right to refuse. The fact is that most people identified as mentally ill who are in the hospital are not even refusers of medication. A very tiny percentage of patients are real refusers. It's just most patients have opinions about what works for them. The only thing that these clients are asking for when they go into the hospital is for the professional to turn and say to them, what medication works for you, if any, and to enter into a negotiation.
26% of us lack good food and a decent place to live in our everyday lives. Yet 84% of us believe that good food and a decent place to live are essential to our well-being.
Project Return is a social organization. Basically what we do in Project Return, we have a weekly meeting and plan social things together, and then air problems, individual problems or group problems that may be going on. A large amount of the population from Project Return also reside at board and care residences. A board and care facility is a transitional living facility. Ideally, they would be at a board and care and mainstreamed, and that doesn't seem to happen. There is no care in many of them. There's mistreatment in many.
Santa Claus here left the coffee here for you, so I'm going to do.
At our peak point before the home that they were living at evicted so many, we had about 12 members. They're great people. We're very, very close. There's a real caring, there's a real loving on every level.
And to save Joyce the aggravation, she was moved immediately. To save Harvey Bluebond the aggravation, he was moved immediately. They took a little walk longer on David because a social worker has to move him. And myself and another kid that got involved, Randy Morgan, we just refused to be moved because they will not issue the legal eviction notice that any other person should get. And until they do, my belongings will be there, even if I'm not.
Let me tell you one thing. She wanted to move out of there because she hates my darn guts.
She couldn't control you, David, because you began thinking like a person instead of a machine and just following orders like all the rest of them.
Yeah, but I don't want to be treated like I was some kind of dirt or something.
Forget human concern
I guess
and just consider it a business. Get your money, run with it, you know, and screw the little people, you know.
I don't believe it should be a profit-making business.
It should. I don't see
it just
you
shouldn't
should make
be.
a profit off of mentally ill people.
Even within our own little circle and our own little group, we've been healing to each other. And this is what I would like to see to be taken a step further into housing, where we are taking care of each other, supporting each other, and that it just makes more sense to me. It makes more sense. I hope to open up a board and care totally different from the ones that are existing today. I would like to see it client-run, client-operated, and non-profit. And I think that if there were enough client-run, living, working, breathing environments, that perhaps this need for in-bed hospitalization would drop a little bit.
All right, look at this.
Give us some more money. We need jobs.
All right, what you gonna do about this?
We sleep out here all night.
Give me this. What this mean? I can't do nothing with it.
That allows you to ride the bus for $4 a month.
We sleeping out here on the street.
I understand that. I am doing as much as I can do.
When you sleep in the cardboard box, get wet, baby. You just hear that? You hear that? Her check and my check, we be all right. I'm not bullshit.
It'll never work.
I get a hot plate. No, listen, baby. I get a hot plate. I get me a crock cooker.
Those are human lives. They have mothers, they have fathers, they have sisters, they have brothers. You know, they're human beings. They need a quality of life. You know, and I just feel as if I owe, from what I've gotten out and what I've gone through to come this far, I owe something. I owe somebody. I owe it to God. I owe somebody something. And I just feel good helping someone get off the streets. And Project Backup is a benefits assistance program. We target the mentally ill, and we help them in getting their benefits. We will exhaust all avenues to get them some help and to get them off the streets.
And that is the vocational report. You have had a Social Security card.
But I don't remember.
You don't remember your number. Mm-hmm. So what you're going to have to do, Bill, is you're going to have to go down to Social Security and have them issue a new card. We'll let you use our office phone since it's easier for them to get in touch with us for your appointments and things like that. Okay, what I'm going to need next is your job history. Okay.
Let me just get this. I got to go to an appointment.
Okay, Bill, I want you to understand what we
got to see.
Well, fine. I'm not going to keep you too long.
I'm sorry. Okay. I've been going through jobs, and you
know.
Well,
this is fine, Bill. Well, we only need the last 15 years.
Hello, dear. How are you? I'm good. Fine. Okay. How's everything? Oh, pretty good. Now, we see what we got left, and I'm going to need a couple bags of cheapest sugar. 5-pound bags, okay?
$1.99.
$1.99.
$1.99.
Just give me one of those because I ain't got enough, okay?
Okay. $13.22.
Who's taking care of the kitchen? Holly?
Listen,
who's taking care of the kitchen?
You got a...
Oh, Alan?
Alan?
Is Alan there?
Okay. I just brought down some food that y'all can make some soup and stuff out of.
But now you can make 30 points. But if you don't make 30 points, you got to pick them all up, right?
I was called Howie the Harp because when I was on the streets, one of the ways that I made money was by playing the harmonica. I was a street musician. And people started calling me Howie the Harp, and it kind of stuck. So that's my name. I kind of like the name because it gives me the same middle name as a lot of famous people in history, like Ivan the Terrible, Richard the Lionhearted, and Winnie the Pooh. This is the tools of my trade, or the tool of my trade.
Cookie time.
Most homeless people are fiercely independent. Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death." But the vast majority of people who have psychiatric histories are homeless because they were incarcerated in a mental hospital, and before they were, they had a home. And during that time, if you're getting SSI, you lose your SSI once you're in an institution for more than a calendar month. Since you lost the SSI and you have no other income, you have no way of paying the rent. So wherever it is you're living is lost. And then when you finally are ready to go out of the hospital, you have really nowhere to go other than the board and care homes that they send most people to. And most of the homeless population are people that don't live well in board and care homes. And most of the people that come to this program won't go to any other program. This is the only one that they'll go to because this is the only one that they trust. Because it's run by people like them. Very often it's people working here are people that they knew out when they were out on the streets.
Neglect does make you sick. Loneliness makes you sick. Without food makes you sick. That's right. Without the basic necessities of life. If you don't get that and you just getting shunned and kicked around all the time, it does make you sick. And then they say we're mentally ill, but physically we're not.
But this place, you know, even though I'm depressed every day, this place helps me get up out of the bed, eat breakfast, and go on about my way. And then I'll come back, I might still be depressed, but at least I got somewhere to sleep and eat.
We are people like everybody else, and that when you're homeless, you've got that anybody would experience these problems when they're homeless, that anybody can become homeless.
But don't you know, it depends on the individual. You can be what you want to be. If you want to be strong, you be strong.
If people band together, which I think the Oakland Independent Support Center is a good example, we are a self-help organization, and we're also a full-service organization, and we are here to help each other, like getting GA, getting SSI, and this type of thing. We support each other.
The solution is independent living because these folks want to live in their own places. And I believe that it should be a person's right, it should be a basic human right to have a decent place to live.
I try from day to day to find a paycheck. I've got the blues, the homelessness blues. I've got the blues.
I would like to welcome everybody to Public Day for the California Network of Mental Health Clients.
The purpose of Public Day is to bring clients together, non-clients, people from various constituency groups in the arena of mental health, to educate and inform you all about what the network does, what it is that we do for clients, and how we're involved with clients.
I see these, but I'm interested in what the shadows are doing. What's the shadow doing here?
Well, the shadow is more or less like the dark side of ourselves.
Yeah, but
we have
specifically one here.
Oh, what is this one specifically doing? Yeah. Well, if you notice, each one is grabbing, kind of influencing his life in a way.
That was the funny part about entering the institution when I entered. I didn't know the difference between the staff and the clients. They were all people to me.
You know, Elliot and I work in the same county together, and it seems to me there's a variety of things that the parents group and the client groups can cooperate on.
We would love to influence you to be more interested in some of our goals, which are not your concern.
Well, like what do you think are not?
I don't think you're particularly concerned that there be more acute hospital care.
No, well, in Italy they're shutting down the hospitals.
If you can suggest how you deal with a person who's dangerous to self or dangerous to others, or what we consider to be gravely disabled in a totally free and independent living situation, I would be happy to listen to it.
Well, since I was hospitalized 20 times, a lot of people would have said that I am a hopeless, mentally ill person. And it was because of the self-help and the fight for rights that made my life different.
I was considered to be mentally ill for a long period of time, severely mentally ill.
You're assuming that there is only black and white, and I'm saying that I still say
you're the one that's assuming that.
No, I say that the majority of the people that we're talking about are unfortunately still too ill to be able to benefit. They can't communicate too well. They can't socialize too well.
You know, there's so many people in our self-help group that fit that description, but are doing real well in self-help.
Soon, you will see major political movements on the part of clients. People identified as mentally ill are joining with physically disabled people and other historically disenfranchised people to assert and protect their rights. It makes total sense. It makes total sense. And not only will clients be fighting for dignity in the hospitals and in the institutions, they will be fighting for their rights in the community. And this is what the network is beginning to accomplish in California. It is so exciting. The clients have done this. They have done it themselves.
Thank God. Anyway, clients deserve the same basic rights as any other human being. And we always have rights. And that our human rights should not end where our psychiatric diagnosis begins.
The Wellbeing Project found that mental health clients want to be recognized as individuals and not lumped together as psychiatric labels. Our problems and triumphs are universal. We are all too human, with basic needs, despair, and dreams of the future. Hopefully, this film has encouraged us all to examine our own lives and to arrive at some conclusions about the meaning of well-being.